Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to another episode of Funday Sunday, and we have the Friesland. I will have to say I like this ship a lot. It's a lot of fun, but it does have its weaknesses. So this is actually one of my very first European ships in the game. There's obviously two. There's the Friesland and the Blisfiska. Uh, mispronounced that more than likely. But I finally got the Friesland. It is a million XP and one silver to get, and it's a fun tier 9 premium ship. Obviously, it's probably best known for its really fast firing guns and its amazing AA. This thing eats planes alive, downright glorious. I wish I could have shown you a different battle. I actually had a really good battle with this, but unfortunately with the update, it does completely negate old replays. So unfortunately I don't have this, but I did have this one pre-recorded, so I do have the ability to show off this one. The obvious downside of Friesland is the fact that it does not have torpedoes. It is a gunboat through and through, so it has no real major defense against any ship pushing it. Besides, obviously, a destroyer. Destroyers, it eats alive. But any battleship or cruiser that decides to go after it, it does struggle because obviously it doesn't have that very high alpha damage. Its guns, they are small caliber. They are 120 millimeters. Highly recommend get IFHE just to improve the penetration value of the HE shells. The detect on the Friesland is not particularly great. It is 6.4. So you do have to be mindful of your positioning because there's actually quite a few ships at tier 9 that have far better detect than you do. That includes obviously the Fletcher, Yugamo, Jutland. None of the Russian destroyers, fortunately, but all those others definitely very, very dangerous. Kitakaze could easily take on a Friesland and possibly win. So that is definitely the downside of the Friesland, but the upside is the fact that he can fire very quickly. I believe the reload is a little bit over 1 second, so once we actually get our guns firing, you'll definitely see the huge benefit. Obviously, this ship has been out for a little while, so I'm a little late to the game per usual. It is what it is. It does take a while to get a lot of free XP, but anyways, as you can see, this is mostly, well, we are top tier, so tier 9 battle with a few tier 8 sprinkled in just for a good measure. Now, the other major benefit of the Friesland is its decent range hydro. 5 kilometers makes it really good to push in towards enemy destroyer smoke, as well as being able to hide in its own smoke and have its hydro available. So that is definitely its strength. Now, being a little cautious because obviously the enemy team does have 2 Fletchers and a Akatsuki, which we can detect almost as soon as it attacks us. So the Akatsuki I'm not afraid of. It's probably really going to come down to the fact of the Fletcher. I'm sitting in the middle expecting a Fletcher to come towards the middle, but we haven't seen anything quite yet. Am allowing, if a Fletcher does decide to push down towards the middle, that I be there. My original thought was, well, the middle's wide open. If Fletcher really wanted to, it could probably push down. Our team does have only 1 radar, which is the Donskoy, which is currently all the way on the east-hand side. So definitely very far away from the current cap. We do know, obviously, where the Kiev and the Akatsuki is. So we just are missing currently the Fletchers. Other major thing about the Friesland, its health is not particularly high. It's only 17k. Fletcher has around 19k. So definitely highly recommend to get uh, the additional buff to the captain. And I'm currently forgetting the skill, and I do apologize. Sean Horse being really ballsy here, and this is where you can definitely see the power of the Friesland. Its reload rate is completely insane. Not doing a lot of damage, which is not very fortunate. We do spot the Fletcher for a moment, and I don't recall whether or not I actually saw him in game, but we do know he's at least there, and is in danger of being obviously pushed in. But first we have to get rid of the Scharnhorst. Once we get rid of the Scharnhorst, we should be fine. Yeah, rushing our Soyuz, and actually our Soyuz goes down, which is allowing that Kiev to push in towards our cap. Fletcher is now detected. We do have our Hydro going, and the Hydro is it's about half the normal of a British destroyer, so about a minute and 30. So a decent amount of time does allow you once again to push into cap, spot enemy destroyers such as this Fletcher, which is being very ballsy. Now obviously fact of the Kiev is pushing in does mean we have to take care of him. This Fletcher is probably going to go down. Should hopefully, I think he barely gets away. Yes, he does. He does get away with so little on the amount of health. Fortunately, we are ahead in chips, but obviously Kiev is pushing into our cap. And the slight downside of the Friesland is its shows are not particularly great at long range, but the fact that you can just punch out so many shells so quickly does make it definitely very worth it. So even though your initial salvo probably is going to miss at a destroyer at long range, doesn't mean that you can eventually walk it up to actually land shots. This ship is good against French destroyers, but obviously if you are caught with your pants down, French destroyers are going to completely annihilate you because their guns hit very hard. But the fact that you can just fire at such a rapid rate does mean that you can dish out a significant amount of damage. Once again, Friesland's really good at anti-DDs. This is really what it's best at. So if you are able to take on destroyers, you're going to do a fairly good job when fighting. So currently just open boating right here. The only ships really able to shoot at me are going to be the battleships. I can smoke if I want to, but well, fell out of detection. All that's left is that Fletcher. The Fletcher is going to smoke up, but fortunately once again he's obviously no longer detecting us. Now, is it worth to buy this ship? I mean, it is 1,000,000 XP. It is going to take you a while to push up into getting that much. I know several players that have a decent amount of free XP built up. It has its major weaknesses. It's a very gimmicky ship. I hate to say it. The fact that it doesn't have the ability to really outspot many of the enemy destroyers, and the fact that it does not have any torpedoes does mean it is very limited when dealing with much larger ships. It's a great DD killer, but once again, it kind of struggles when facing off against much larger ships. But once again, your rate of fire is really strong, so you can definitely use that for your benefit. Now, the speed on the Friesland is actually really decent too. It's actually around 38-39 kilometers, so it's a fairly quick destroyer. Its rotor shift time is decent. It's not as good as the Fletcher, so it is going to struggle a bit. And there we go. My phone is going off. I do apologize. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn it off. Go me. But once again, yeah, the Friesland, it's a fun ship. Don't get me wrong. It is a lot of fun. It reminds me a lot of the Kitakaze, with just the ability to just pump out shells. Once again, your shells aren't going to do that much overall damage. So your best chance is to at least get some fires. So if you do get IFHE, recommend getting some to get Demolition Expert with the ship. It would be extremely beneficial just with that higher fire chance. Make your guns able to penetrate more while still being able to at least catch some fires. Because even though we're about 12 minutes into the battle, we've only got 4 fires with firing almost 250 shells. So you do have to keep that in mind whenever playing. Now, the great counter of the Friesland is obviously a much larger ship can push it, since it does not have any torpedoes, or even a destroyer can rush it with the fact that it does have those torpedoes available to it. The other thing to keep in mind is the fact that it is squishy. It doesn't have a lot of health, but as you can see, if you play it right, you can just downpour shells onto the Friesland or on this FTG. But as you can see, we're tending to break a lot of our shots, so by far go for the superstructure. It's going to make it a lot easier when facing off against battleships. And like I said, overall it's a very gimmicky ship. It's a lot of fun. I hate to say it, at times it's probably going to be used for damage farmers, just with the fact that it can just really pump out these shells. FTG finally goes down. All that's left on their team is the North Carolina Yoko, ODS, Buffalo, and a North Carolina. So not a lot of ships left for them to actually really to do anything. We're going to at least try to push up, try to assist as much as possible. And once again, I really wish I could have shown a battle with SCV. Shown off its AA is a monster. So highly recommend. If you want, you can very easily spec into AA. I don't think this build that I have on the Friesland has any AA buffs, and it's still very, very strong. You do have 3 charges of your AA, so you do have a decent damage output. You do have a decent range, 6 kilometers, very, very powerful. So a great anti-CV ship. So if you have a thing against CVs, you can obviously deal significant amount of damage against the airplanes. Now, everything else, I've talked about the Friesland. The enemy team is just going to run. It's, once again, there's not much it can really do. It's going to lose its cap. The Buffalo is going to get focused down. Yoko, well, I don't really want to talk bad about this Miyoko player, but I've seen him around before. And, well, let's just say he shot at me a few times while I was facing off against a enemy destroyer, while he was obviously on my team. So, anyway, sorry. I'm going to not talk about that any further. We're going to go ahead and push into cap and try to finish off this match. Once again, thoughts on the Friesland. I've talked a lot about it. I really do like it. It's a fun ship. Um, it is probably one of those more fun ships to get. It is obviously going to take a while for those players that are trying to grind up their free XP. Uh, if you like destroyers, yeah, it's a great ship. It's a good moneymaker, especially once you really get the damage flowing in. Survivability expert, highly recommend on this. Um, because, well, not having as much health as a Fletcher is not really beneficial. But once again, your guns are going to really do a ton of damage against enemy destroyers. This is by far what the ship is best known for. So, going to go ahead and focus down this Miyoko as quickly as possible. The only other real thing I can complain about the Friesland, well, I mean, there's not a lot of ships, especially if you don't have the Bliskovika. You're not going to have a captain already available for it, which is unfortunate to really deal with, having to re-grind a captain. So you're going to have to either do a lot of grinding, or you're going to have to free XP into your captain just to make it work whenever playing the Friesland. But anyway, that's actually going to be it. All that's left on the enemy team is the Fletcher, and I believe that Fletcher is going to go down relatively, or sorry, we're going to cap out relatively easily. It's late. It's well, it's not that late, I guess. It's only 10 at night. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai-Gen.
Torpedoes to starboard. Torpedoes direct front.